right now at Anaheim. Sexton wins race 1. The Anaheim 2 Triple Crown. Jason Anderson dominates race 2. Eli Tomac. He takes a very popular race 3 win. Here it is. Webb. Checker flag in sight. Cooper Webb. Here at Anaheim. Triple Crown. Triple Crown. Triple Crown. Let's go racing.
Great defense by Levi Kitchen.
Good job by Kitchen to protect and take the win.
Nice
Got it. Checker flag in sight. Cooper Webb. Anaheim 2 Triple Crown.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of SuperMotocross Insiders. We are the Jasons, Wygan and Thomas. My mind is blown away after round 4 of the SuperMotocross World Championship and Monster Energy AMA Supercross. JT, we could talk about 4 winners in 4 rounds. That's not an indicator enough. I can't even keep track of what happened in these 3 Triple Crown races. It was all over the map. Good races, bad races, slow, fast, passes, crashes. The series is on fire right now.
Yeah, it's been one of the most unpredictable years I could ever remember. You don't know if a guy's going to end up 10th on the night or end up winning the race overall, which is a great place to be. If you're a fan, to have that much unpredictability going in, it's just something we don't see all the time, and I've embraced it. We finally got a dry racetrack for the first time since we were there again in Anaheim 1. But yeah, the depth, the parity is just, man, it could be at an all-time high. And we say that all the time. I know the field's deeper than it's ever been, but I think this may be it.
So congrats out to the winners, Cooper Webb and Levi Kitchen. But I'll just give one example of how mixed up it is right now. The night begins with Chase Sexton taking off and dominating the first race of the night. And it ends with him finishing 5th and being disappointed. And that's how thin the line is right now between good and bad.
Yeah, if you had told me after race 1 that Chase Sexton would be 5th on the night, I would think that he had a mechanical failure or a big crash. But really, it was just one mistake and then a poor start that got him there. And that's the problem in this field. You can't make a mistake. You can't really get a bad start because the challenge to get forward is too difficult. And that extends to Eli Tomac or whoever, Jett Lawrence. Doesn't matter the level of talent you're talking about. It's still an uphill climb to get back to the podium if you get a poor start.
Yeah, so this is so good. We've got an eye-popping stat. We normally bring on our statistician, Clinton Fowler, at the end of the show. We've got something to report right here at the top. So let's get to a bonus edition of Fowlers Facts. And now, as promised, super stats from Clinton Fowler. This one blew my mind. I said, we got to talk about this at the start. Tell me exactly, using the points, how close this season is.
Yeah, Jason, it is incredible. We have the closest points battle amongst the top 5 in the history of the sport. Just a mere 10 points separate the top 5 guys. And even if you go to the top 10, which are separated by 36, that's the 4th closest margin in the history of the sport. So super, super close. JT, the thing that's interesting to me is 10 points is the difference between 1st place and 7th place. Last weekend, you had Cooper Webb get 1st, Jett got 6th, Ken Roxon got 7th. Those guys could swap next weekend, and there's your 10-point swing. The depth of competition is just incredible. Is anyone in position to take command, JT?
I don't think so. The margins are so incredibly tight between these riders right now, and it's a very unique time because what you need to have this dynamic is everyone to be on their best form. And on top of that, you need a mix of old and young to have this much depth. You need the old guard, the Tomacs and the Webbs, and even Jason Anderson to be at their best. And then you need new guys, the Jett Lawrences and the upstarts to really be on their game and picking this thing up quickly so they can be in the mix to win. We don't see this all that often. It's a very unique time in the sport. And yeah, enjoy it. We won't have this forever.
Once again, you're saying this is the closest the points have ever been after round 4 in the top 5 ever.
Closest gap, 10 points. The second closest was 11. We've got a few at 13. This is the closest, though, Weege.
All right, that is fantastic info, Clinton. That's unbelievable. But we'll have more deep dive into the stats as usual later in the show. But because this is so exciting, let's give you the reminder. This weekend, we have a live NBC show. Great timing for that. But that does mean different timing for when the races will take place. Race Day Live will start qualifying coverage at 9:30 Eastern Time Saturday morning. And then the racing starts at 3 Eastern. So this is a day race. We'll be wrapped up by 6 p.m. So 3 to 6 is your TV window. Watch us live at NBC or on Peacock for the SuperMotocross Video Pass. We'll have Clinton back in a moment, but now it's time to get to our big interview. Yes, big interview, and this is going to be a good one. Acclaimed European motorcycle racing journalist Adam Wheeler, one of our best buddies, still working for us, writing stories from overseas for Racer X and the Paddock Pass podcast, which JT and I listen to get our MotoGP fix. So Wheeler, you were at Anaheim too. It was good to see you. I'm going to start with the obvious. Jorge Prado, the multi-time champion over there at MXGP. You've covered him since his beginning. You actually live in Spain now. What is the buzz about the prospects of him maybe moving to America full time? And what do you think of what you've seen in the brief time he did have here this year?
From what I know, it's a done deal. I think he's already over there, possibly also with another manufacturer. So that's pretty exciting times. And I think if you remember a few years ago, there was a rider, Manu Ribas, who was trying to, qualify for a few main events. And even just like from that rider's appearance in Supercross, there was quite a bit of a stir over here. And I was saying to some colleagues, from sort of the Angel Stadium at the weekend, I think whatever Prado did, you have to give him credit for attempting it. It would be like Sexton coming over to the World Championship and doing the last 4 rounds. And, whether there's an expectation on results or not, the fact that, some guy is prepared to get out of his comfort zone, somewhere where he's earning good money and he has a great profile to essentially have it kicked, but learn and, really seize the opportunity at the same time is something you've got to credit him for. And it was cool to watch him at Anaheim, show his starting prowess, because he's undoubtedly the best starter in motocross I've seen in 20 years of covering Grand Prix racing and everything else. And I think you'll see a lot more of it next year.
Okay, I got one more question about riders, and then JT, I'll let you field the questions on manufacturers. Very similar to the Jorge Prado story, the Lawrence brothers were groomed in MXGP in Europe, and obviously they moved to America with great success. When you were watching them as young riders, did you see this level of success coming?
Impossible to say. It's impossible to predict, actually, because I think Hunter, you could see he had the throttle control and the technique. He always tended to be riding underpowered machinery. He stood out immediately in the European Championship riding the Kawasaki, but then drifted over to Suzuki for a year before the team and the manufacturer actually left the sport, and then transitioned to a very brief stint with Honda before, of course, joining with American Honda. So you could always see that the Hunter had the ability to succeed, but Jett was just an unknown quantity. And when he was racing in European Championship, it was on the outdated Suzuki with minimal support from Suzuki Motor Europe. So, is it a nature or a nurture kind of argument? Because, you could debate if he'd stayed in Europe, would he be halfway as good as he is now? That's something I don't think it's very easy to say. But, at NA for the Motocross of Nations was the first time I saw him on a 450, and I was amazed. Just the natural grace that he has on the motorcycle, the horrible cliche of making it look so easy, fully applied to his speed. Of course, he has to go through the dark phase of motocross when it comes to injury or doubt, loss of form, maybe loss of popularity. That's perhaps starting to occur already. But when it comes to just being able to steer a motorcycle at speed, then it's a frightening prospect. And there's no way we could have predicted that, back in 2015 when he was kind of, making himself known a little bit as the brother of Hunter.
Just to switch gears, the last topic here, I think you have this unique perspective as these new brands come into the fold. Of course, Ducati will be, that's the big news. You were at their launch event, but we have to give a tip of the cap to Beta making their first main event last week in Anaheim 2. Triumph will debut here in Detroit as we come up. But for Ducati, to me, this is a huge unveiling. You look at the move from Paolo Ciabatti from MotoGP over to the motocross side, and you look at the success that's followed him there. Just give us your thoughts on this Ducati development, also just the overarching influx of OEMs into the motocross side.
Well, 3 things there. Firstly, Paolo Ciabatti, he is somebody, a name perhaps unknown to a lot of people in moto, but from the MotoGP side, for over a decade, he was the architect of Ducati's rise in MotoGP. They won the World Championship in 2007, but there have been a lot of false starts along the way, in particular when they had Valentino Rossi for a 2-year stint and didn't really achieve anything. So, I think when they get around this year to announcing riders in the coming months they will have for their GP team in 2025, but then also fix their Supercross team, then, it's going to be exciting times. I don't think they're going to be going for a quiet entry. They're going to be looking for big names, big impact, and, a big presence.
All right. Thanks, Wheeler. Good luck with everything this year, and we'll talk to you.
No problem.
30-second board time. Let's talk hot topics in the sport. As great as the Triple Crown racing was, somehow the best race was actually the main event for our Supercross Futures. We had the 16-year-old New Zealand rider Cole Davies, you see here on the number 17, and the 15 of Gavin Towers, who's next in line there at Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing. JT, unreal battle.
It was incredible, and unfortunately for Gavin Towers, he was really upset with himself for not finding a way to win that Futures race. But for everybody else, we were so thoroughly entertained, and I think it speaks so highly for the future of the sport. And I just go back and I look at Hayden Deegan being in this race last year, and you think about what's possible for a rider like Cole Davies there or Gavin Towers. And everything I would have thought about a ceiling, you have to kind of rethink after what you saw Hayden do last year.
Yeah, Julian Beaumer was fast qualifier at that race last year. He was pretty much unknown. Now he's got a really good ride with factory Red Bull KTM. So people are watching, and for Towers and Davies, that was big. People are also watching a different form of motorcycle racing, the annual Dakar Rally, maybe the gnarliest race of any kind in the world. And an American has won it for the second time ever, and that's Ricky Brabeck, and Honda brought him to Supercross. And here's what I love, JT. He won what you could argue is maybe a gnarlier event, crazier, wilder than a Supercross.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what it takes to win an event like this long, spanning that much space. You're so far away from civilization, and literally anything can go wrong over the course of that event. But for an American to have now won twice, it's incredible. And I think Ricky Brabeck has cemented himself as a legend in motorcycling now.
But the cool thing is, he's a Supercross fan.
I enjoy Supercross. I mean, it's something we watch every weekend it's on. It's just, coming from an off-road racer, I think it's gnarly and it's crazy what they do and how they time everything and all the rhythms.
Let's get into deeper with riders coming over and doing other events. Jorge Prado has completed his 4-round journey. Has he done enough? Because I figured the guy in his heart and soul wants to come and race here full-time next year. Has he done enough?
I think he has. Was he hoping for more? Sure, right? Were some people thinking like he could find a way to sneak in a podium or something? I'm sure there were those people out there, but for me, I think he proved that he's capable. He just needs more time, more experience. And don't forget, there's that thing called motocross that he's exceptionally great at as well. So I think there are people sniffing around, trying to steal him away from that Red Bull Gas program. We'll see how that all plays out. But yes, to me, Jorge Prado is back in 2025 and a full-time USA resident and racer.
Yeah, behind the scenes, lots of rumblings of teams already sending offers his way. So whatever he did, it was enough. And he'll be a great personality if we have him in the pits all year next year. Now on to a story that we covered at the end of the race in our SMX Insider post-race show. Good job by Will Christian getting over to the AMA truck. Jason Anderson was penalized. Only one position for going around the whoops, but that had a huge effect on the results and points.
It did, and there was absolute chaos down near the podium as this news broke because it shuffled everything. It shuffled the red plate, it shuffled the overall podium for the night. And for Jason Anderson, you just wonder if there's some sort of cumulative effect here because he's been penalized for this before, going off the track, not making enough of an effort to come back on, and I guess some sort of competitive advantage being gained. But for Anderson, what an up and down night. He wins race 2 going away and then gets this penalty at the very end to knock him off the podium.
Yeah, it's another example like Sexton I cited at the top of the show. You never know. He might have been the fastest rider on Saturday night, and he ends up 4th overall. That's how tight it is in this sport. Now, we started the night. This is cool. Sometimes teams have gimmicks. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes they're pandering to the crowd. No, this one worked, and this one the crowd loved. Ghostbusters, their new movie that's coming out, they have a promotion in concert with the Troy Lee Designs Red Bull Gas team. It was cool to see the riders and mechanics running the Ghostbusters jumpsuits, but this, Barsha driving the Ecto 1 in opening ceremonies, unbelievable.
Yeah, this was a home run, and I love the participation from the team, the all-out effort they did to really market this. You had Gil Kennan there, who I thought was incredible, right? And you never know, how's he going to take to Supercross? Is he truly going to enjoy this? But he seemed really overwhelmed by what he was seeing out there. Not only was his movie being displayed, but the spectacle that is Monster Energy Supercross, I think really caught him off guard. He made the comment about how steep the jumps were as he was down there on the racetrack, which I hear all the time from first-time visitors to Supercross. So I thought it was a home run event for both Ghostbusters and Anaheim 2 of our series.
And we'll have a couple more of those Ghostbusters themed events as the season goes on. Yeah, Gil Kennan, who you mentioned there, is the director of the movie, and straight out of Hollywood is this script of Aaron Plessinger. He's going back to Detroit as the points leader. Now, he only had a 1-point lead coming into Anaheim 2. It was a wild race. It wasn't like a guarantee that he was going to hold this red plate, but with all the chaos at the end of the night, he's still on top.
Yeah, I was able to interview him just after the race, and he was, at the time, was like the fourth place finisher, someone we really wanted to talk to, and then news broke, right? The penalty comes down from Anderson. That shifts the points, it shifts the overall for the night, and it's all unfolding right in front of us. So I'm watching Aaron Plessinger's emotions, Jay Dungy's right there, his emotions, and he has to take off to go chase down Red Bull KTM personnel to kind of sort all this out, whether he's going to be on the podium. And it was jubilation. They were over the moon. If you get an opportunity, go back and watch that interview on the post show with Aaron Plessinger. He was so excited to go back to Detroit, the place where it all kind of came apart last year, and he had that emotional interview. He's going to get to go back there with the red plate, being the points leader of this championship. And I don't know if there's any sort of way to make things right after such a letdown from last year, but this feels like it's the right place at the right time, and things have kind of been corrected.
Kind of feels like a movie in some ways, doesn't it?
Yeah,
we'll get Gil Kennan.
Truly poetic justice.
And this is all part of the parity. 4 winners in 4 rounds for both classes. We'll get deeper into that when we bring Clinton Fowler back on for more Fowlers Facts. But that's what's making these races so fun to watch. We had a battle at one point, JT. I think it was for 8th through 12th with like legends in the 450 class. And then the 250s, that's totally wide open as well in the West.
Yeah, and we'd been kind of seeing the same thing. Jordan Smith was Mr. Consistency, wasn't really giving anybody any opportunity, and then he did this weekend. And that same thing's happening across both classes. Chase Sexton looks like he can't be beat. Then he has issues, crashes, and I didn't even get to see where he crashed. Cooper Webb really struggled early. We talked about him falling out of the championship. He comes back and wins Anaheim 2 and is right back in the mix. So I think the rule is anytime you think you have something figured out, you're wrong. Like that's really the only way I can really kind of square this whole thing.
Now, there's a couple of factors leading to this sort of parity, and honestly, this might upset some people, but a lot of it runs through Jett Lawrence, because we saw at Anaheim 1, he has the capabilities to shut this parity down because he dominated the opener. But he has done anything but that in the last 3 rounds, and I think we're getting a reminder that he is still a rookie in 450 Supercross.
Yeah, he's. I think this is of his own doing, because over the course of his career, he has been so predictable and so wise, and his racecraft has thoroughly impressed us time and time again. But through 4 races, and really 3 of the 4, he's made mistakes. He's shown us that he is inexperienced in the 450 class for Monster Energy Supercross, and we all wondered, all the success of last summer, would it translate, and there'd just be no hiccup along the way? That's not the way this is playing out. I think he's learning a lot. I think it's been very frustrating. And that last crash in race 3, I think spoke volumes about where he is, right? He's still young. He's still only 4 races in. He's got a lot to learn. Doesn't mean he won't be one of the best. It doesn't mean he won't figure this out and dominate down the road. But he still does have things to learn. He is human. He can make mistakes. And thankfully for us, this championship is wide open.
And another reason for the parity is that a lot of the teams right now all seem to be hitting their stride in the same season. Last week was a celebration of the gains that KTM had made. They were 1-2 in points with Plessinger and Sexton. They had won 2 of the 3 rounds. They had been much maligned in the previous seasons. They clearly got the bike working better. This weekend becomes the Yamaha party. Webb with the win. Tomac finishes 2nd and wins race 3. And let's not forget Justin Cooper, fast qualifier.
Yeah, they really shined this weekend, and it's hard to not say that Cooper Webb was a story because he's your winner. But you are so right. You have to mention Justin Cooper, who was chasing Cooper Webb that entire race 3, was your fastest qualifier, and really flashed. He jumped off the page. You see Eli Tomac there. He dominated that race 3. The Blue Crew was out in force this weekend, and you wonder if it was something with the track. Did they get something on the bike figured out? Or was it just their weekend? I think Detroit will give us a little bit more insight, but that had to feel good going back to the Yamaha Star Racing truck there.
Detroit will not give us any insight for the 250 West. It's kind of strange how the schedule worked out this year. There's one weekend off for them. Do you think that matters for the West riders?
Not really. I think it'll be a nice break. They're not going to really change anything. They won't take time off. But if some of them have nagging injuries or something they want to sort out, it's always nice to get a little bit of a break. And I think you can just kind of reassess, right? For Joe Shimoda, who's on screen, it's so important because he hasn't gotten on the podium yet, right? And he was expected to be a championship contender. So for him, regroup, and I kind of think you can start over here and go after the championship again. Can he get back in the title fight? I don't know, but winning races is going to be so critical for Joe's success, right? How he writes the story of 2024. Glendale will be an opportunity to kind of just start over and get back to winning.
So with the West off, we start 250 East. Let's give you a brief preview. We could be here for an hour if we really got deep into it. And obviously the talk for 250 East is going to start with last year's 250 East runner-up, Rookie of the Year, and SuperMotocross World Champion Hayden Deegan. But we don't necessarily know what type of Deegan we're going to get. You've got other riders here. You see, you got the rookie in Dax Bennick, Tom Vial, the world champ, Jeremy Martin. There's a lot of talent here, and we don't know what we're going to get from Deegan.
Yeah, one of the worst kept secrets of the offseason, Hayden Deegan did have a setback and was off the bike for an extended period of time. So we'll see what sort of form he's in at Detroit. I think that will continue to improve as the series goes on, but parity will still reign here. I think I can't look at any of these riders and say, yes, he's the best rider, he should dominate. I think the McAdoos, and you throw in a youngster like Chance Hymas, Austin Faulkner, who's the winningest rider of all of these guys with 11 wins. This could go 17 different directions, and we don't know what's going to happen until we show up in Detroit and that gate drops.
Don't be guessing at what time to watch this race. It is a day race in Detroit, so we're just going to flesh this out for you. We've done it a couple times, but we can't say it enough. We'll be starting our qualifying show, Race Day Live, at 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, and our racing starts at 3 p.m. Eastern. Racing starts at 3, qualifying, Race Day Live starts at 9:30. It is a daytime show to fit into a window that we have to have the race aired live on NBC, which is always awesome for the sport. But you can always watch on Peacock or the Super Motocross Video Pass outside the United States as well. So don't miss it because you thought it was a Saturday night race. And one other wrinkle, we're going to have the 450s race their heat races first. The rest of the night will be as usual. 450s will race their main event last. I love this idea. I made the joke when I heard it. Oops, should have thought of this 50 years ago. We run these giant opening ceremonies, JT. We celebrate the huge 450 stars of the sport, and then we send them back to the pits. Not on Saturday.
Yeah, we're coming in hot and heavy, and if you just happen to be tuned in to NBC, you're going to get Jett Lawrence and Eli Tomac and Cooper Webb right in your face right off the bat, and that is a great way to start off the show. It's going to be a different dynamic, so these riders are going to have a brand new racetrack. They're not going to have the 250 heats in front of them to kind of work in some lines. So we'll see if that has an effect on anyone, but I agree. This is a great way to kick off a great Saturday in Detroit.
All right, let's get to the track map. Take us for a little lap here, JT.
So you see the start there, a little bit of a short start, and into that 90, these riders are going to have to be careful there because if anything pushes wide, they go right off the track. But the rest of this is that standard football field, so you're going to see a lot of 180s, a lot of longer rhythm sections, and to me, this is prototypical Supercross. You get the best racing, you get a lot of block passing, you get a longer set of whoops here. So I love the way this track lays out. I think it's going to give us a great racing because there will be passing zones. Those baseball diamonds that we've had over the course of the first 4 rounds don't always set up so well for that. There's just too many 90-degree turns, in my opinion. But here we go. We're back to the football fields, and we're back to those aggressive passes and the block passes we love so much.
And now, as promised, more Fowlers Facts. We bring Clinton Fowler back on the show. We already talked about how close the points are. Give us some other data on this parity that continues.
Yeah, Wage, pretty incredible season so far. We've had 8 different winners in 8 possible races. Absolutely incredible racing through 4 rounds. In the 250s, RJ Hampshire, Jordan Smith, Nate Thrasher, Levi Kitchen. In the 450s, Jett Lawrence, Chase Sexton, Aaron Plessinger, Cooper Webb. Incredible racing for all 8 of them. The interesting part, this has happened only this time in the entire history. We've never had 8 to start. We have had 3 times where there's been 7 winners. So close, but never had 8 like we're having right now. The interesting part here, JT, is these other 3 times where there was 7, very similar in that they were kind of transition years between the old and the young coming in and making changes. So in 1993, Jeremy McGrath came in as a rookie and won the championship. In 2012, Ryan Villapoto was solidifying his authority with his second championship. And then the last time was 2021, and this was after Jason Anderson, Cooper Webb, and Eli Tomac had won individual championships, and Webb got his second. So what is it about these transition years, JT, that brings parity?
Well, there's just a lot of push-pull, right? The established elite, the guys like Tomac and Webb, they still think they're the guy, and they think they're going to go on to win their 3rd championship this year. But then you have a rider like Jett Lawrence, like, no, this is my time now. I have arrived. We've all been waiting for me to get to the 450 class, and I'm here, and now it's my time to win. So it takes a very specific dynamic where you have the elite that are still in their prime, but have also been there long enough to have the experience, and then you need this new talent burgeoning into the class to try to win. So we don't get this that often. It's a very unique setup, but we're in the midst of it right now.
Mr. Fowler, this parity is not working in your favor. You said there would be 3 total 450 winners this year.
I might have been wrong, Weech. I might have been sorely wrong. I said 3 winners, and we're 4 rounds in and got 4. JT, I think I might have missed that one just a little bit.
I don't think you can statistically be more wrong than to be 4 rounds in and already have lost this prediction. I'm not the king of the calculator, but I'm almost positive that's how this goes.
Yeah, my calculator failed me this go around, guys. But hey, that's the benefit for the fans. What we have had is something we've seen now 5 times in the history, which is 4 different winners in the 450s. Now, the interesting part about that 5 times, guys, 3 of them have been in the last 4 years. So 2021, 2022, and now 2024, we got 4 different winners to start the season. So a ton of parity, more recent history. JT, what's changed lately?
I just think the depth and the riders are sticking around a little bit longer. If you look at when Ryan Villapoto departed the series, when you look at when Ryan Dungey, they were pretty young. Ricky Carmichael, a lot of these riders left at 27. Well, now you have riders sticking around 30, 31, 32. So that helps the depth. It adds to the overall ability of different guys to win. And yeah, if you have everybody retiring at 27, it's going to be a youthful class and not many winners. So I just think, again, it's this very unique time where the old guys are still in their prime and capable, and the young guys are really blossoming early.
That makes it so darn fun. Whatever side you're on, whether you're a fan of the new guys or the older guys or both or neither, we've got something for you, and there'll be more in Detroit. So keep the calculator smoking there, Clinton. I'm sure we're going to have some more crazy data coming up.
You got it, Weech. Thanks.
Let's wrap up this episode of SMX Insider. One more reminder of when this race airs, because again, it's completely different than what we've had so far this year. Day race. So race day live starts at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, and racing starts at 3. Don't have any NFL playoffs this weekend, and half the country is going to be not wanting to go outside Saturday because it's cold. So why not hang out with us all day long on Peacock, SuperMotocross Video Pass, and NBC. Again, racing starts at 3, be done by 6, and go hang out with your buddies or your family for dinner after that. That's probably what we'll do after the race. Before we go, shout out to the last chance qualifier. We put this in the show every once in a while when we have things of note. First of all, shout out to Freddie Noren, who crashed and then still managed to get into the LCQ with the typical chaos. John Short, Justin Rodbell taking each other out in the 450s. But JT, 250 class, Billy Laninovich makes the main.
He did it, and there was chaos along the way. But thankfully for him, once he cleared that, he was smooth sailing and right into that main event. Think about it, 40 years old, being in that 250 main event. What a great story. We were hoping that he would find his way into one of these main events. I can't imagine. I'm 44 now. A few years ago, being out there and racing the 250 class again. No thank you for me, but I love to see him out there doing it, and it's just an incredible story. Think about this guy won a race 20 years ago. It's just wild to think he's still out there.
Yeah, good job, Billy, and the Team Faith squad that's been at this for a long, long time and helping put Billy in the main. That's it for our show. We anticipate when we're back next week, more chaos, because that's what 2024 keeps giving us. We'll see you then.